Hello, welcome back. I am the Boogeyman. Do you want to hear a story? I bring you tales from the Boogie world. I bring you tales to help send you off to sleep. Come, sleep. Let me help you. Before I tell you a tale, I will guide you through a short meditation to relax your body and prepare you for a night of dreams or nightmares. Would you like that? Good. Make sure to finish off any other tasks before we begin. Use the bathroom, drink a glass of water, check under your bed. Make sure that there is no other reason to leave your comfort before we enter absolute comfort. You may pause this podcast here and resume when you're back. Are you ready? Lay down, sweet friend. Lay on your bed, on your floor. No harsh textures around you. Only soft, only gentle. Let's breathe together. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Close your eyes for me. Push away the tension in your eyebrows. Be gentle with yourself. Release that tension. There's no need to frown now. Let the calm wash over your face. Unclench your jaw. Rest your eyelids and your tongue. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Roll your shoulders back. Breathe with them as you release your shoulders into your bed. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let go of the tension in your body, in your shoulders, your neck, your hips, legs, toes, fingers. Surrender your body to sleep. Come, join me in the Boogie world. Let me tell you a tale of how the Sandman fell in love with a human. Now, this story is not only uncommon, but it is a forbidden tale. This story starts in a big city with a big city girl without the big city dreams. Andrea worked a busy life of business meetings in tall, boring buildings with boring people in boring suits, corridors and water coolers, always working overtime all the time. Although Andrea had a busy life, it was only business. No time for a social life. No time for a family. No time for friends. No time for love, hardly any time for rest, certainly no time for dreams. A Sandman's job is to bring deep sleep, to allow the sleeping to dream. The Sandman brings with him sands of slumber. He blows and throws sand into the eyes of energetic children and pours it gently into the eyes of resting adults. Andrea had not been visited by a Sandman in a very long time. She could not remember the last time she dreamt. She could not even remember the last time she slept in a bed. She did not welcome sleep. She avoided it as best she could. She avoided it the same way that she avoided herself, her own feelings, her own wants, her own needs. One late night at the office, Andrea sat on the floor, heels already kicked off, surrounded by a mass of thick files, each one looking more and more like a pillow. With no time for rest, she worked on, sorting through documents and scribbling notes. She let no more than one single tear drip down her face. She did not let it hit the surface of the document in front of her. She caught it in her palm and wiped it off on her trouser leg. She let out a deep sigh and said softly to herself, I just wish I could have one really long, one really deep sleep. The Sandman heard her. Her desperate wish signaled to him like a siren. So he came to her. He stood out of sight, watching her, surprised to see her working frantically instead of waiting in a bed for sleep. He felt so sad for her. He could tell that she had not visited the dream realm in a long time. People forget the breadth of magic when they leave the dream realm, and the longer that they're gone, the more they forget. And Andrea could not remember. The Sandman pulled out a drawstring pouch and poured a generous amount of sand into his palm. He waited beside her for a few minutes, ready to blow the sand into her eyes the second that she looked up. She didn't look up for a while, but as soon as she did, knocked out. The Sandman swiftly caught her and lay her down on the floor. Her head rested on a folder. Then he pulled her coat from behind her desk and covered her. He looked at her disheveled and stressed body and made the executive decision to help guide her to a dream. It should be noted here that this is not the Sandman's job. This is not the Sandman's job, and is in fact against the rules. Andrea was sat at the edge of a cliff when the Sandman came to her. She was not in any danger. She was enjoying the vast space. She turned around and looked at the Sandman, his blonde hair long, wisping around his sandy face. "Hi, come, sit," she said gently. He stood beside her and asked when she'd last slept. She couldn't recall. I don't really sleep." He opened his hand to her, and she reached her hand into his. "I don't really know how to dream," she said sadly. "I can show you." He smiled at her, and she smiled back. He took her to see his favorite wonders of the dream world, each dream heavier and deeper than the last. They steered a large ship amongst the clouds and blew kisses to the ethereal fairies that giggled as they travelled past, and stopped at an impossible waterfall where rainbows began and tasted of sugar. He took her to free fall from the clouds until they landed softly deep in the Boogey world. For a second, she began to get a little scared, surrounded by darkness. But he assured her that she'd be safe, and they stepped into what felt like an underground club. The music playing was everybody's favorite song. "This is my favorite song!" The Sandman laughed, and Andrea realized that she was already dancing. The club was so full, the music was so good, and the dancers were moving in slow motion. She could feel every move and every beat. She pulled the Sandman in closer and danced with him, and he soon began to move in slow motion too. The music stopped and began ringing like a phone. Andrea stopped moving and immediately disappeared. She'd woken up. She woke up feeling well rested and better than she had in a long time. And then she got back to work. She answered her phone, ran to a meeting, and forgot about her dreams that night. The next night, at home this time, showered, eating noodles out of a box, and reading over case files in bed, she began to rest her eyes, and the Sandman was back. She didn't ask for a deep sleep this time, but the Sandman knew that she'd feel better. This became an ongoing routine. Andrea did not sleep every night, but every night that she could, the Sandman would take her to dream. She didn't always remember him at first, but she grew to know him well, and he grew to know her. After some time, she began to guide the dreams herself. They visited her childhood home and her childhood, her high school prom. She wore a pink dress with sparkles all on the bodice. The Sandman stood in place of her date and pulled a corsage onto her wrist, and they danced. They would frequent the summer fair she always loved, where they'd ride the rides, play fairground games for prizes, and eat candy floss and hot pretzels. This became her favorite place to return to. This became her favorite place to dream. She didn't always need the Sandman to get her to dreams anymore, but she always welcomed him when she saw him. And he would still bring her sand that she'd wipe from her eyes when she woke. Being better rested, she reprioritized the energy that she gave to her work and her active life. She drew back the hours she worked, which meant a big pay cut, but also meant she could figure out what she really wanted for herself, what her dreams could be, because they definitely were not killing herself for capitalism. One night, as she slept back on the Ferris wheel in the fairground, which sometimes became a circus and sometimes became a theme park, she placed her head on the Sandman's shoulder. Usually made of fluctuating sand-like liquid, he became completely solid. To hold up her head, he was solid for her. "Maybe this is my dream," she said. "I think I'm supposed to be here." "This is your dream." "I shouldn't be working in the city, in a suit. I should be here. So stay." "Maybe I will." The Sandman turned to look at her and kissed her. He kissed her so deeply that when she looked up, they were no longer on the Ferris wheel. They were at the beach, in the warm sand, where they kissed and where they felt. When she woke up, she had the decided feeling that she needed to chase her dreams. She made some calls and made plans to meet with the man who ran the moving fair company that brought her joy as a child. This man was actually the third generation in the family that ran the company. She met him for coffee in her old hometown. He was about her age, tall. He had kind eyes and a silly laugh. He seemed honest, and she decided to invest, and then decided to stick around. She was able to purchase a plot of land for the fair to thrive and grow. She brought on a circus of performers who became family. Every day was different and full of adventure. And she began to fall for the fair man and felt like he had a lot to teach her. Eventually, she and the fair man got engaged. The Sandman was jealous and hurt, but also knew that he should never have pursued her. She was from the human realm and could never love him the same, or even know that he was real. He would visit her dreams sometimes, nip in to see how she was, and she'd still laugh with him. But he knew not to kiss her again. He knew that she did not know him the way that he knew her now. Sometimes, and then often, her fair man would be there, so the Sandman would not stick around. But he was proud of her. She knew how to dream now. She could taste it. She could chase it, and she could have it. The Sandman never really fell out of love with her, and loved her enough to be happy for her. In time, he'd help her children sleep too, and her grandchildren, and her great-grandchildren. This may sound a little sad to you, listener, but the Sandman got to experience dreams through someone else. He got to love and be loved. And that's a beautiful thing. He takes with him that feeling when gifting sands of slumber to those that need it. He doesn't work beyond his job anymore, but he works with more love. So if you're tired, let the Sandman give you rest. He gives it with love, so welcome it, and let yourself sleep heavier and deeper than before. Thank you for listening to this tale. It's an honest story from a friend of mine in the Boogey world. I hope it will help you to better understand us. This podcast is brought to you by the BOOGEYWORLD Podcast Production Network and is sponsored by peptoabysmal.co.uk, the pink and baggy 90s 2000s nostalgia t-shirt brand. Visit linktr.ee/theboogeyworld for all things BOOGEYWORLD, including links to the website, other podcasts, events, and more. All links will be included in the description. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow, and share. I hope you're resting now. I look forward to sharing this time with you again. Goodbye for now, friend. Sleep well.